if you want to have a tough conversation with your kid or anybody, one of the skill sets that I teach is how to create an environment of psychological safety. An environment of, and here's what that looks like in its most basic form. If you guys have ever been told, which I'm sure that you have, man, I don't know what it is about you, Levi, but I feel like I could tell you anything. If you've ever been told that, it's because you have created an environment of psychological safety where that person feels safe from judgment, blame, or pain to tell you whatever it is that's on their mind, to bring up ideas, to bring up questions or a story, right? And there's a skill set. You can actually manufacture that with your kids, right? So, and then the other thing on the flip side, if you've ever verbal vomited all over somebody because you felt so comfortable talking to them, right? And you walk away and like, oh my God, I can't believe I said that. It's because that person provided an environment of psychological safety. But there's a way that you can, so like for instance, that second question that I told you about, tell me something you failed at today. The reason I do that is for two reasons. Number one, I want them to have a growth mindset and learn from failure. Number two, that is a daily rep that I want to get into my kids. So I'll give you an example of what that looks like to create psychological safety. In other words, you can tell me anything and you are not going to be judged. You are not going to be blamed, and I'm not going to throw pain. And I'll give you an example. I'll ask my 16-year-old, and this is a true story. It happened just last week. Hey man, tell me something that was tough on you today. And you see it, you're like, and he, you know, he doesn't want to tell you. He's like, I got my science test back today. I'm like, oh, okay. Tell me more. I didn't say, what happened? I said, tell me more. Tell me more is an invite. Tell me more triggers psychological safety. Tell me more is like, yeah, what you got, man? Right? And it'll be like, I got a D on it. Okay. Yeah. Tell me more about that. Again, inviting, right? Not saying, what do you mean you got a D? That's how I was raised, right? That's how we were raised. And he'll be like, I got a D. I'm like, okay, well, why do you think that is? You know, tell me about that. And he's like, I don't know, Dad. And like, there's just questions on there that I guess I wasn't prepared for. And what I'll do is I'll just mirror him, you know, be like, you weren't prepared? Yeah, I really wasn't prepared. Like, I don't really know if I studied all that well. I was like, man, that's really fantastic awareness. So when you say you didn't study enough, like, what does that mean? I don't know. I only studied, you know, chapters 1, 2, and 3, and it was over 6 chapters. I kind of neglected the third chapter. I was like, man, you know what? That's great for you to know. That's actually great information. So let me ask you this. If you were able to study for this test all over again, what would you do different? I would study all 6 chapters. And I think that's a great idea. I was like, well, when's your next test? Well, my next test is in 2 weeks. I was like, okay, well, based on the information that you've learned, what would you do different? And I would study everything. I would study all 6 chapters. And I think I'm going to do that. I'm like, dude, that's a great idea. Now, listen, what I basically did is I used generative questions for him to lecture himself. I didn't have to lecture him, be like, well, this is what you got to do. This is what you have to do. And blah, blah, blah. He said it, not me. And then I follow that up with, I think that's a great idea. How can I best support you in that? What feels right? Do you want me to check in on you? You want me to quiz you? You want me to just hold you accountable? What feels right to you? And I use that word, what feels right, because kids are feeling people. And it'd be like, you know, man, if you could quiz me the night before, that'd be great. Done. Let's do it, man. You know, nux. And then he walks away from that conversation like, holy crap, I just told my dad something that I wasn't proud of. And all he did was welcome me with a really nice voice tone of curiosity. He asked me really good questions and I learned from it.
And now I have a solution.
Right. I didn't have to give him this. I mean, I knew the solution. And of course, there's that dad brain in me, right? Be like, you know, when he told me you got a D, there's that, this is where you got to override the operating system with skill sets. Like there's a part of me that's like, dude, I freaking saw you on your phone all night. And I know you weren't studying. Why weren't you studying? I told you to get off your phone. There's that part of me, but I'm going to override that because what I want is the relationship, not necessarily beat him down with the lesson.